Okay, we're going to talk about the history of Dirty Dancing. A lot of history we have to get to.
Oh.
So here it is. In 1873, President Grant signed into law the Comstock, a series of laws called the Comstock laws. Now, what were these? They were basically the first federal level legislation addressing abortion. It was a federal abortion ban in the United States. 1873. Basically, until then, abortion was legal in the United States. There were state level bans that had been going into effect, but abortion was legal and pretty common in the United States in the 19th century. And I took a lot of this from this book I highly recommend by Jenny Brown, Without Apology, The Abortion Struggle Now. Why am I saying any of this? So attitudes toward abortion is as old as medicine itself, and attitudes about abortion change constantly, often in response to other things going on at the same time. In the 19th century, the number of children that the average woman had went down from 8 to 4, and abortion was a big part of that.
Thank fucking God.
And this was the 19th century. So
how do you even there's a whole generations of children that just never even experienced being loved by their fucking parent. After you shoot out the fifth one, okay, people are going to not like that comment. Fifth babies, I'm sure you're loved, but it's God.
The point of all of this is these attitudes toward abortion, they change all the time. They go, society is more approving or welcoming or tolerant of them, and then it goes up and down. It's not a straight line. It's not like abortion used to be really restricted and is now not. And so what this law, what the 1873 law did was ban abortion and contraception. They were considered the same thing, and outlawed the sharing of information via U.S. mail, anything about abortion, contraception, or sex in general. And it gave law enforcement the ability to raid doctors' offices, raid bookstores and libraries. You have sexually explicit material, something that is literally happening right now. Like there was a cop in Massachusetts who invaded a school library because they had the book Genderqueer.
He invaded it and then did what?
We just like raided. I got a hot tip that you have this book here, and now I'm going to go find the proof. Here it is, and then removed it and took it to jail or whatever.
Well, then he's not going to check it back in, and he's going to rack up a lot of fines. So,
Joke's on him.
Boom.
These attitudes, they come and go, they change, and it doesn't happen in a straight line. Like you would think, well, abortion obviously always was illegal until Roe versus Wade. No, it was legal for 100 years and then was made illegal. And then in the movie Dirty Dancing in 1963, the time it's set, it was still illegal. New York State didn't allow abortion until 1970. And then 3 years after that, Roe versus Wade comes out and decriminalizes it across the country.
Okay.
That's the climate of the movie at the time. The woman who wrote the screenplay for Dirty Dancing, Eleanor Bergstein, who is basically Baby, she's the real life Baby.
Okay.
Has given a million interviews about this movie, and she always brings up, for the longest time when I would give interviews, people would say, why did you need to have the abortion in the movie? Like we have Roe versus Wade. Like what is this? What relevance does this have? Is that this woman had to get an illegal back alley abortion? And she said, like, you never know. You don't know what the future brings. You could easily go backward.
But wait a second. Why should you need relevance in the current timeline for it to be a story worth telling? People who had these kind of limitations back then deserve their stories to be told. That's so stupid. Stupid.
Yeah, I wonder if she actually got it asked, like, why do you need this in the movie?
Let me build this straw man real quick so I can give you my answer.
But that's what she's saying. And obviously when we did this movie in 2017, we didn't know that 7 years later we'd be back to before Roe versus Wade. Okay. And I wanted to foreground all of that because I was just really impressed this time that this movie's plot hinges on an abortion. I didn't remember it as being so central. It is it's like the MacGuffin of the movie. The abortion causes everything to happen.
There are no reasons for either of them to meet up and have to do anything together, or for him to get any kind of like softening toward Baby, or for Penny to start to be more accepting of Baby. And anyway, it all depends on what happens because of this abortion.
And she knew that Bergstein, the screenwriter, assumed that the studio at some point would say, let's get rid of this. By the time that happened in the editing process, she said, oh, I'd love to get rid of it, but like everything in the movie hinges on it. Like, it's like, it drives the plot, so we can't take it out. And they're like, oh, you're right. Okay, I guess you're right. And so that was pretty clever. Like, instead of having it as background dressing,
right,
make it something that if you take it out, the whole thing falls apart. Because there's other things, like there's other political things that sort of get hinted at of Vietnam and the Civil Rights Act or Civil Rights Movement.
I'm sorry, you said that she's the real life baby, but does that mean did she have a dancing background or did she get trained?
She did get trained.
But did she end up becoming a dancer or just
no.
Okay.
No, writer and screenwriter.
I was just specifically for people who have a career that's based on their youth, their physical mobility because they're young usually, and their ability to travel, which is mentioned many times in this movie, that these people are seasonal workers. The dance people go from gig to gig, and I'm sure there's long periods of like not getting any money at all, and it entirely depends on them being unattached and having the mobility to do it. It would be insanely, it would ruin Penny's life. Penny's life to have a baby. Her body, her ability to try. I mean, it's not nothing. Penny needed to be that upset and crying. And I didn't always understand why she was so upset. It's like, it's just a baby. I was a baby. I'm a pleasure. But it's like, no, this is going to ruin your fucking life.
And that's before she has the very dangerous illegal abortion that threatens her life.
She's not crying because she's scared of having the abortion. She's crying because she knows that like this is going to be the end of everything. And she got kicked out of the house when she was 16, and she's been surviving with a ragtag group of dancers ever since. And her, she's got no like education to fall back on. She used to be a Rockette. They mentioned that, but it's like used to be. So I mean, youth is like that in this industry.
Yes, and you also see that Ronnie, the guy who Robbie, who gets her in trouble, he's going to be fine.
Right. They make it a point. These are all Yale and Harvard people already in college. And I never noticed this before, but the owner, Kellerman, specifically hires these guys that are like, mom and dad approved, to have the right religious background and have the right career path. So just in case they fuck their daughters or your wife, don't worry.
They're nice boys.
We have tested these, but the all but says definitely fuck them. So
we kind of disagreed about that. I'm going to go watch it again.
Okay.
See what I think he's. I think he's saying like titillate them, like when they used to say make love back in the day. Go and make love to her, which just meant like go take her by a lake and read sonnets to her.
Penis and
no penises need to come out.
Just show her the penis. What will it look like? I'm just saying it'd be very nice of him if like before you have sex, they would just show it to you just a couple times. So it's not like the first time and you're like, okay, I know better.
Yeah.
I know this.
Yeah. If we were like frogs or something and just had literal rituals, things would be easier.
Do frogs have little sex rituals?
I don't know if frog. I mean, I assume
I got excited.
Animals, the mating dance, the mating ritual.
Oh, birds.
This is what we do. I wasn't thinking birds. I was thinking frogs. Or I wasn't thinking frogs.
Sexy
I was thinking
frog
birds.
rituals.
So that this time, and I'm sure that watching it in the time period is a big factor. Watching it in a post Dobbs world, now you're like, this is way more powerful now that it's showing an abortion, an illegal abortion, and how that's dangerous, and this nearly destroys Penny's. I mean, like literally almost ends her life because it's botched, and then Baby has to get her dad to come in and save Penny's life. And I like that there is nothing at all about Baby that is like, oh, I don't know, is abortion unethical? Am I going to be a baby killer? She just knows it's the right thing to do and does it.
You and I both, I said it, but we both kind of felt it. Like, Johnny's too interesting for Baby. I've always bought it though. And it felt very Bella and Edward. It felt very Twilight. Like, what do these guys talk about? Whatever. I've always loved Jennifer Grey's laugh and how she's easygoing and how she's like so gun-ho about everything, and she's talented, all that stuff. So I was like, well, at least she's impressing Johnny with like her ability to dance. But what I noticed so much more in this viewing is like she trusts herself. She makes a decision, and because it's the right thing to do, the idea that she was going into the Peace Corps finally made sense to me, where I always felt that was kind of like a throwaway thing. You have to be a person that is like sure of what is morally correct. I don't know that you have to be like to join the Peace Corps, but
I think this time I was like, I know exactly who she is and I know exactly who her dad is. They're like the parents from Get Out. They're like Allison Williams' parents from Get Out. They would vote for Obama a third time. You would say they're nice liberals.
I got you.
They say they know the right things to say.
And they feel those feelings until they're confronted with having to change what they do and how they appear to others.
Which is the thing that happens with her dad in the movie, that presumably she admires her dad because it's like, you're a nice liberal man who says all the right things and has all these great convictions. But now I see in real life, you're confronted, you're meeting somebody who had an abortion, and yeah, you're compassionate to them, but then you go to me and you're like, that girl's disgusting.
He never says anything wrong about Penny, and I like that. I like and
that's
hate
true,
it.
but
he only ever immediately assumes Johnny did this and he's being a piece of shit and not taking care of his issues.
But just, it's like, I thought you'd be a little more like understanding and compassionate toward people.
Like, this is your moment.
Yeah.
You just gave free medicine to someone, and I'm so glad about this pro bono situation you're doing, but you think they're crap. And you didn't even think once about the circumstances they're in. Where if Lisa had gotten knocked up, baby's sister, you'd just give her the abortion because you're a doctor. And we have a dad that's a doctor. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't feel this way. It's privilege. It's access.
I'm sure we talked about this the last time.
Who knows?
When you were a kid, though, you're from a very conservative family. And I think abortion is like a forbidden thing. I mean, what was was there any discussion about this? I mean,
no.
That's that abortion movie?
I don't think I understood at all what was happening. I really don't know when it all clicked. Even this watching, I heard 3 lines I'd never heard before at 3 different points of the movie where I'm like, that's what they're saying? And they weren't important. The point is, it's like, for things to slowly click and turn and change and become a slightly different movie is so normal that I can't remember going, oh, that's an abortion. I always knew it was sexual, it was bad, and that I just thought someone stabbed her in the vagina with a knife. Like, and they kind of did, but no, I got it. When was the first time I'm sure I learned what that is from school, from kids talking about it. It wasn't anything people talked about in my family. Not till late in my 20s. What about you?
Being in me?
Did your family talk about abortion?
Oh, kinda, I guess, but not in a
Guess who had an abortion?
No, my mom didn't talk to me about things really. I think if she said anything, it would
go look at that book I gave you, Matt, with all the pictures.
I do remember her saying what it was. I don't really remember if she like cast judgment upon it or anything.
Can you remember the first movie you saw that deals with it?
Fuck no.
Okay, because yeah, me neither. Just this one.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think for guys, and it's not something you remember because in your head you're thinking that'll never affect me. Even if it affects me, it won't really affect me.
No, I'll tell you, I remembered it. If I thought about it at all, it would be like to make a joke, like that's weird, or like her dead baby, haha.
Your mom should have had an abortion. What a funny joke.
I first heard it from Sum 41, maybe.
Oh, the abortion. I wasn't talking about that. I just mean saying off-color jokes because you're tween or teen and you're a piece of shit.
Yeah, that was
me included.
That was the extent to which it played in my head as a. So I admire the centrality of abortion in this movie, and it makes me think like, oh, I wish this movie were more political and more centered it even more. If you did, no one would. I mean, little Lacey and her cousins wouldn't be watching it. But my question is, okay, you want these topics you want people to engage with these topics, see how they feel about them, see, okay, abortion is a reality in people's lives and the consequences of it when it's dangerous, when it's not, legal and regulated and just a normal medical thing, or any sort of big idea like that. But if you don't notice it's there, it doesn't really affect you. So like,
right. Yeah, there's I understand the need to make it palatable, but if you make it so, I don't know. I think if I'd have been a teenager watching this movie for the first time, I would have understood it. I think it just depends on the age you consume it. And if you consume it at a very young age, I think it's much more likely that you'll go a way longer time not really absorbing the message because it'll just stay the thing. It's dancing.
Yeah.
It's Johnny.
I think about this all the time. To what extent in YA fiction or whatever Do these ideas, these sort of big ideas about politics or whatever, to what extent do the readers actually take them in, and does it affect them, if at all? Or is it just something you're like, well, that's just part of the thing? And I guess I'm not saying this well.
No, I get what you're saying, and I think it's probably just to tap away at the edges, right? Like anything is, it's for the people who are interested and who might have questions, or it's just a domino. And if it's important to you, then maybe you're helping a couple people understand something they were already curious about
at the margins,
or needed to. Yeah, that's all it is.
Eleanor Bergstein is the screenwriter of Dirty Dancing, and as I said, she was the real life baby. She took elements of her life to write, to inform Baby and to inform what happens in this movie. But she says, this movie's not my biography. I had a doctor who was my father. We vacationed in the Catskills, but she did it when she was younger. And she said she loved to dance. She was like politically, high-minded. And she didn't have a sister. The two sisters, she said, are like the two sides of her personality sort of split up into two. And then she didn't infiltrate like a hunky dancer's world.
Okay. So she didn't get to see the other side of the Catskills.
I guess not.
Imagine that there must be just, what do they get up to at night?
I think she did in researching this movie. Like there was a dance teacher who she met, when she's 44 doing the research for Dirty Dancing, and is like, you kind of, maybe you'll be my Johnny.
So the setting was more just like, I need this to be a slice of life. I need this baby person to be without other options for 3 weeks. I need them to be stuck somewhere for the story to work.
And it was, she had a lot of nostalgia for the Catskills, and as a Jewish person wanted to capture this moment in time that even in the movie that we're watching is set in 1963. And they're saying like, the owner of the hotel says, I feel like we're at the end of this. This is all going away. The Catskills, mountain range north of New York City, are where the Jewish people of New York went to vacation during the summers.
Okay, so it's not the name. I knew it was a place, like a geographical place, but it's not the name of a resort.
Right. There's lots of different resorts.
Okay.
The Kellerman's is, I believe it's like a composite of a few different resorts. There's a documentary that's on Amazon Prime that I watched. I don't remember the name of it or which resort it was, but they claimed they were the inspiration. But I feel like a lot of places could claim to be the inspiration. The thing where the owner of the resort is like a daily presence and kind of like a celebrity walking around the grounds. They said that was all, that's how it was.
Very Trump.
Yeah.
Very Mar-a-Lago.
The history of vacation is fascinating.
Okay.
If you look at the marketing materials for Disney World in the 70s,
it's like, come here if you want.
They'll be like, we have water skiing and golf, and you can rent a boat and drive it around this lake. And also a theme park, but come on vacation here. It's like the ways you marketed vacation. People wanted to go water skiing. That was vacation.
It's like how maybe it's not just in America, but like in European places, it was marketed to people that eggs and bacon and toast are for breakfast. But it wasn't what people ate for breakfast. It just, you see it enough on TV and in print ads. And it was it's something I learned while watching a food documentary about the Asian places and how that is not at any.
Those aren't breakfast foods.
Right, at all. It does not, and they weren't. They didn't used to be. It's just like, why is skiing and why is hiking and why is golf something I need to do on vacation?
Like in the 70s, those were the signals of vacation. I'm on vacation. I'm at leisure.
They were the signals of money. You could afford an all-inclusive place.
But for like a middle-class person, it's not. These are
an all-inclusive cruise or an all-inclusive place to go stay in Mexico or something. It is affordable, but you get to feel like you are completely being taken care of in a way that must be what rich people feel like all the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So before this, she had written a movie called "It's My Turn" with Michael Douglas, from which an intimate and erotic dance sequence was deleted by the studio. And she said, this is ridiculous. I'll go write my own movie.
It was aborted.
That is nothing but. So she was 49 years old when the movie came out. She, to this day, still is basically the ambassador for Dirty Dancing. Patrick Swayze's dead. Emile Ardolino, the director's dead. And she, as the author of the screenplay and the real life baby, is like the closest thing to this is the spokesperson for the movie. And she adapted it into a musical, Dirty Dancing, the classic story, on stage in 2005. Still, I believe, being produced today. And they are maybe working on a sequel.
But they already have one.
A Dirty Dancing 2 with Jennifer Grey, with Eleanor Bergstein, with whoever's left from the original cast. This has been announced. This was announced in 2020. It's not in pre-production or anything, but just throwing it out there that maybe in the future we'll see something happen.
Is Jerry Orbach still alive?
No, he's dead.
Yeah. Well, what about Penny, Cynthia Rhodes?
I don't know.
Okay.
You want to see a sequel to this movie, Lacey?
No, probably, but I would still watch it.
Okay, Emile Ardolino is the director. He's the director of the picture. He was he's the director, and he died of AIDS in 1993, age 50. Very sad, but this was his first feature film credit was Dirty Dancing. Before this, he won the Best Documentary Oscar for a movie called He Makes Me Feel Like Dancing.
Oh, okay.
In 1983.
I thought that was a movie, but I've heard of this.
I watched it. It's only 45 minutes. It's on YouTube. It's fine. It is about a dance teacher and sort of the joy, but also the dedication required to dance. And I'll say, I feel like Mr. Ardolino, maybe because he came up filming dance numbers. That's what he did. He worked on TV. We got a dance sequence. You film it. And I think maybe a little too into the technical.
Okay, but you can feel that. Like, Johnny is a dance instructor. It's how he became somebody who could earn a living. And they really do have a focus on Johnny being a strong teacher. He can teach you anything.
Mm-hmm.
He can, and how he breaks it down. It's just all very believable. And I like it because a different kind of movie about this would skip over all of that and do a montage. Or they do somewhat,
Mm-hmm.
but you really buy it. Like, and it really is true. Jennifer Grey really is learning this stuff. Their frustrations are real. When she's laughing because he's doing the, he really is annoyed at Jennifer Grey.
Yeah. Now, to be clear, when it's instructional, I think it's great. I think this feels very authentic. The director does seem like
he knows
this is what the movie is calling for. And Patrick Swayze is great, like as the dancing teacher when I forgot the word he says, but he's like, yeah. And it's like obvious he's a trained dancer. He's said this a billion times in his life. If you were an actor, you'd be like, that word, it's like when Ashton Kutcher recites the Greek alphabet in The Butterfly Effect.
You've done that before.
Yeah.
No, it's like when you sing a Weezer song, a karaoke night, and then the fucking host inevitably goes, "That's the first time you did that."
Why? How dare you?
They hate that you know what you're doing.
I'm talking about when there's just the workers are doing their titular dirty dancing. It feels way too professional, and it's filmed very professionally. And I just feel like he's more interested in just capturing the technical dancing rather than communicating a feeling to you, the viewer.
Well, it does a really good job of making me feel like I don't belong in that room, but I want to so bad. As a person who loves to dance, but I don't know how to do that dancing. And I certainly don't know how to dance with a partner. Oh my God, am I bad at that? So I very much feel like I'm carrying a watermelon.
Yeah. So after Dirty Dancing, he directs 3 Men and a Little Lady. The sequel. You like that one, not 3 Men and a Baby?
I think I like Baby. I can't remember, but I like both.
3 Men and a Baby, directed by Leonard Nimoy. Did you know that?
That is random.
So he directs the sequel to the Leonard Nimoy movie, and then he directs Sister Act, and dies. Yeah, he was an openly gay man, but he's son of Italian immigrants. I think it's very easy to see like he's the Johnny, Bergstein's the baby.
That might be the most unbelievable part of the dance crew in the movie, that there be that many heterosexual men to partner up with the women. If they're trained dancers, it's just like theater. It's not going to be a 1-to-1. Like, there's not just a ton of straight men. There are some, but it's not like every boy has a girl. And also none of them were, I don't know. It just, if they're that sexually open, then you'd think you'd see a couple of non-traditional.
Oh, you will not see. Yeah, you will not see any mixed race. You will not see
no mixed
no
race
interracial couplings. No homosexual couplings. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, don't worry, parents.
Don't worry.
So
baby.
Patrick Swayze he plays Johnny. Now, he was 35 years old when he made this movie. He's 5'10".
Thank you, Matt.
He grew up in Houston. I feel like you don't hear about a lot of people being from Houston.
That explains. He has an accent. He never changes it, and it's present throughout everything, and it is Southern. That makes sense. It's not, but it's not Southern to the.
It's Texan.
It's not Southern this way. It's Southern this way.
Yeah, which they wouldn't say is Texas doesn't think of itself as the South.
But there's a draw. He's got a draw.
Yeah. But, Houston, America's fourth largest city, but I don't like Wes Anderson is from Houston. Who else is from Houston?
Beyonce.
That's right. She is. Yes. So his mother was a choreographer. He grew up training in ballet and stuff, moved to New York and performed ballet professionally, had a lot of success, but then he got injured and that prompted him to move to the theater. And he played Danny Zuko on Broadway in Greece, got a lot of notice. They said, you're destined for pictures. And he was. So he moved to Hollywood where Francis Ford Coppola casts him in The Outsiders, 1983.
He's great in that.
And it's a big hit. And creates a lot of future stars. Let's see. He's in a movie called Uncommon Valor in 1983. That was a pretty modest hit. Red Dawn, previous episode that you shouldn't listen to, is a movie that he was in that he's the lead of. That was a big hit. And then this movie called Youngblood that I've never heard of was a big hit. He's on a little roll.
He's a little, yeah.
And then, Dirty Dancing.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, so Dirty Dancing 1987 and then Roadhouse 1989. Ghost in 1990 is the biggest movie of the year. It makes $500 million.
I still can't bring myself to watch it again. It's too sad.
I've never seen it. It's one of like the biggest movies I've never seen.
And I've seen him multiple times. It's just I don't wanna. Look how sensual he's being there, neck kissing, just like in Dirty Dancing.
It looks a lot sexier than I've seen these parts. I've seen, the molding thing.
Everyone calls it the molding thing.
But it's not mold.
It's pottery. I mean, it's a pottery wheel.
Don't you mold in pottery?
Fine, but mold is not a sexy word. Mold can also kill you. And Roadhouse is like kind of against type at this point. Well, I mean, he's always tough.
No, that's the thing. He's the tough guy, but also a ballet dancer. He appeals to men and women, that's basically. True. The two kinds of people, the men and the women. Right. Men like action, women like dancing. Well, he's got both. But, he died in 2009, and in his obituaries will always mention, like, never really broke through to be the big, like, leading man of the 90s that it seemed like he was going to be. Which I always think of him as, like, this big, iconic person, movie star. But you look at his filmography, and it's pretty short.
Yeah.
And after Point Break in 1991, it's kind of all downhill.
Does he attempts to do more movies and they just aren't hits, or does he get sick? Like
he battles alcoholism. I think he has some personal life stuff going on, but he seemingly beats it. In Donnie Darko 2000, he gets a lot of praise for his role as the Donnie Darko's teacher, but like he didn't parlay that into being a character actor.
A reconnaissance, or not reconnaissance.
Renaissance.
A renaissance.
And he died at age 57. He'd be in his 70s today. Like, yeah, he'd be a great character actor in movies.
Yeah. Like William Dafoe. When you see him, you're like, yeah.
He might be in the Expendables movies.
Right. Yeah.
But I had this thought: what if he's a John Wick villain, or a John Wick like ally?
Well, I mean, he definitely has the physicality. Yeah. Just anyone that can just do all their own shit.
I think Lawrence Fishburne. I think the John Wick movies like to pair Keanu up with somebody he has a past with.
Oh,
so if you had a Point Break.
I didn't even think of that. Yeah, I wasn't thinking of that. Yeah. Fuck, I'm here for it.
Yeah, I thought
talking about Patrick Swayze just makes me sad. He's just someone who died too young, and for someone so physical to be so debilitated, Jeff, with
pancreatic cancer,
with sickness. Yeah, it's just hard to talk about.
All right, well, Jennifer Grey. She was 27 in 1987.
5'3", my height. Yes.
Yeah. As I said, I've now come to accept I like it better when old people play teenagers, because if you put actual teenagers on screen, I won't care.
All right.
Like, look at these babies. Get them off my screen.
But they both have to be old.
They both have to be old. She's still 8 years younger than him. But yeah, he's supposed to be like 20 years old.
They don't say, but I assume in his 20s.
Her first film role was Reckless in 1984, and then she was in Red Dawn. Not for very long, but she's in Red Dawn, and Patrick Swayze's in there, and apparently
they were not friends.
They didn't like each other.
Yep.
She thought he was too macho and played too many pranks. And when they brought him in to read for Dirty Dancing, she had already been cast, and she said, "Don't hire him, please."
Oh, wow.
And it doesn't seem like they ever actually. I think now that he's dead, she talks about him very reverentially, but it doesn't seem like they actually were like a.
But people can't stop talking about the chemistry of it. Well, I get it is a little unfair though. He is a trained dancer and she literally is having to learn how to dance in
She
front
has a
of,
background in dance.
she does, but she's not she's not trained with a partner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she like did dance school as like a kid and stuff, but not like this. Not doing it in front of a big audience. So she's learning how to do all these things with all the cast, all the crew, the mambo for the first time with that actual live audience.
Yeah.
She was very nervous. They made it all very real because it was.
I mean, yeah, you said his frustration. It's his actual frustration.
Yeah.
Why can't you? It's like Michael Jordan. Why can't my players just be Michael Jordan?
Right, just be a professional. And her frustration is too. It's like, I am fucking trying.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, it's real.
Okay, but what happened to Jennifer Grey after Dirty Dancing?
I fell off a fucking cliff.
Well, for one thing, mere days before Dirty Dancing was to be released, she was in Ireland with her secret boyfriend Matthew Broderick, and they got in a car crash that killed 2 other people.
Oh.
He had amnesia because of it. He was convicted of reckless driving. She said it had PTSD, has PTSD to this day because of this. She said what should have been the best period of her life was instead just filled with tragedy. So that's one thing that happens. And then the other thing that happens is she gets a nose job.
Right.
Now I bring this up because
It's a big deal. It completely changed her.
she had a memoir come out last year and she gave lots of interviews. And so this is from the New York Times interview or a profile of Jennifer Grey, which foregrounds the nose job because the New York Times article mentions that the New York Times itself used to say Jennifer Grey syndrome, which is the idea of somebody getting too much plastic surgery or plastic surgery that takes away the charming thing.
The thing, yeah.
The thing here being the nose. Let's see.
What made her down. It's like when someone who has like a nice little crooked tooth goes and fixes it, and it's like that. And like Madonna, right? Didn't Madonna always was known for like the gap in her teeth, and then she closed it?
I don't know.
But she was already Madonna, so whatever.
So yeah, from the article, quote, she was unrecognizable to people who had known her for years. Photographers who had hounded her the month before didn't pick up their cameras when she walked down a red carpet. She recalls an airline employee who glanced at her driver's license and said, "Oh, Jennifer Grey, like the actress?" And Grey said, "Actually, it is me." The woman responded, "I've seen Dirty Dancing a dozen times. I know Jennifer Grey, and you are not her." Jennifer Grey says, "Overnight, I lose my identity and my career."
God. Can you not put it back?
Well, apparently she had 2. The first,
it's hard.
the first,
Her specific.
the first was more aggressive than she expected. So then she had a second to like correct the first.
Yeah, she did like the traditional nose job where they break it, they reset it. It's a completely different nose. When I got mine done, they did the male version of a nose job where they expose the bone and sand it down because I specifically asked to keep the bump because I didn't want to be unrecognizable. I wanted to not hate my profile so much. But yeah, you don't know what you're going to get when they break the bone and reset it.
Was Jennifer Grey brought up to you? Like, was that
no.
Like something you were thinking about?
I didn't want to be. I never thought. I don't know why. I hated my nose, but I was scared to completely lose how everyone else knew me because I did it the summer out of high school, and there was already this weird untethered feeling of like, I'm not going to see these people again. These are the people who know me. I got to go start over with new people, and it's just like I didn't want to lose my nose too. I often have wished that I'd gone a little more aggressive because I still don't love my profile, but now I don't care. Now I'm fine with it. I got a medium nose, but I do have cousins who did go the more traditional route, and you often need follow-up surgeries. It is aggressive. You don't know how you're going to breathe afterward. You need 2 or 3 sometimes just to be able to breathe after. I got mine partially because I couldn't breathe already. So thank you, insurance. Nose jobs are, when you grow up with a nose and you aren't the most secure person to begin with, it is the thing that everyone said that you almost need to get it out of the way when you meet a new person. It's like, just say the nose thing. Just say whatever you're going to fucking do it. Make a joke. Like, let's let this part of our relationship go away because it's coming. And I didn't want to be a babysitter. I don't like being around kids because they say it so fast. They say it so out loud. It's just, my nose was, it haunted me.
I looking at this photo of her, it would never occur to me to like Does she have a big nose?
It's not from the front. Just like with me, it wasn't from the front. You see old pictures of me that I allowed. All the profile pictures of ones that I destroyed cameras over. Like took film, did this, as my entire family knew not to take pictures of me from the side. That is when it changed. And so but it's what makes her so relatable is her distinct nose.
She said that like she with her her team and her mom, they decided like there's a ceiling where your career can go with this nose. So you gotta look more like everyone else to get the roles. And then the roles didn't come. And she worked, steadily in TV, voiceover roles, but that was kind of it. So I will say I watched Ferris Bueller pretty recently. She is fucking electric in that movie. She's so funny.
She's got so much energy and like physicality. She's very Lucille Ball.
She's the best thing of the movie. It is her movie, I say. It's her journey. Dirty Dancing.
Well,
she's fine.
Who's gonna outdo Johnny? She's not supposed to.
She's fine. So that's the history of Dirty Dancing.
Oh, okay.
Feel good, everybody. We're going to talk about the movie after these messages.